So President Trump had promised that his tax cuts would cause companies to invest in their workers, raise wages, spur innovation, and overall help the economy. Now, what's the reality on that? Well, I think it's been long enough to figure out that they have not worked. So far, wages are flat. Only a quarter of workers polled have seen the benefits of these tax cuts. So most people, regular people, working people, have not seen any sort of increase in their after-tax revenue. Of course, Paul Ryan was caught before he deleted the tweet, by the way, basically pointing out, oh, look, this school teacher got $1.50. Wow, $1.50. Wonderful. So now the average wealthy earner, as people making over $1 million a year, received a $50,000 tax cut. They certainly seen it. So again, more Republicans than Democrats, according to that polling, have seen an increase in their after-tax revenue, and that's because most of them are part of that wealthier group. And they love these tax cuts, which, by the way, are temporary. So the tax rates for the middle class, they're going to expire. The tax cuts for the rich, going from 35 to 21%, are forever. So now, one company, Pfizer, speaking about innovation, by the way, who benefited greatly from the tax cuts, they also actually ended their research on Parkinson's and Alzheimer's drugs. So much for innovation, right? So wages are flat. They didn't go up for the most part, unless it's, of course, activism from people trying to raise the minimum wage. And then you had one company that decided to end their research on potentially life-saving drugs. So what are they doing with that money then? If they're not raising wages, if they're not spurring innovation, if they're not investing in their workers, what are they doing? You know the answer. They're doing stock buybacks. They're buying back their own shares. Now, you might be wondering, but hey, look, doesn't that help the stock market and therefore is good for the economy? Well, no. What it does is that it inflates stock prices and basically only helps CEOs, because the benefits of the stock buybacks go right into the pockets of the executives, who are already doing incredibly well. In fact, let me give you an example here. Warren Buffett, and you know Warren Buffett is a hedge funder, runs Berkshire Hathaway. He enjoyed a $29 billion gain thanks to the Trump tax cuts. Well, there you go. Now, you might point out that, no, but look, it hasn't all been bad. What about the bonuses? I mean, some employees have gotten $1,000 bonuses. Yes, they've been very vocal about that. You know why? Good PR. It gives Trump a win, and it gives corporations a big win. Say, oh, look at that. We gave a giant bonus of $1,000 to each of our employees. Well, don't you want to cut taxes more? Because it's so good for the economy. It's so good for the worker. When in reality, look, most of that, yes, that is money. That is nice PR. And it does help certain families, that's for sure. However, it's pretty minuscule what the bonuses are compared to what they actually saved in taxes. Again, $29 billion for Berkshire Hathaway. Billions of dollars for places like Walmart. Now, if these companies actually did want to really share the wealth with their workers, they would raise their wages. That's what they would do. And they would raise them significantly. But they don't. Now, a lot of these companies, by the way, while giving out bonuses and saying, oh, it's because of the tax cuts, they've also been cutting jobs. Walmart, for example, Sam's Club, over 10,000 jobs. Comcast, AT&T, Carrier. A lot of these other companies have actually eliminated jobs. Why? It's because they don't need those jobs. Less people have money that they can spend. There's less demand for the products. There's also more efficiency, productivity when it comes to automation. So yes, these companies may be doing fantastic, and they may be giving out bonuses to their workers, but they've also been taking away jobs with the other hand. So, now that said, there were companies that did decide to grow. In the fourth quarter, American company investments in things like factories and business equipment grew by 6.8%. Now, that's significant. But my question is, how many of these companies actually plan to do this before the tax cuts? Again, tax rates aren't really too determinative on whether or not companies are planning to expand. So, like, for example, if you have demand and you still have higher tax rates, well, you're still going to expand to meet that demand because those are potential customers, that's potential profit. So these tax cuts, again, they're not really all that determinative. All it was is that it's a gift to the donors. And that's the problem here. Tax cuts do not create jobs. Demand creates jobs if you have demands for goods and services. And again, there isn't a lot of demand because right now we have a minimum wage that is $7.25 an hour. That's horrible. That's worth less than it was in the 60s and 70s. So again, these companies, without all this demand to go and hire new people, what are they going to do? They're going to buy back their own stock. According to the New York Times, American companies have announced more than $178 billion in planned buybacks. It is the largest amount unveiled in a single quarter, according to Beer & I Associates, which is a research marketing firm. That's not all. Cisco said this month that in response to the taxes, it would bring back $67 billion in overseas cash, using $25 billion to finance additional share repurchases. Alphabet, the parent company of Google, authorized $8.6 billion in stock purchases. PepsiCo announced $15 billion in planned buybacks. Chip gear maker Applied Materials disclosed plans for a $6 billion program to buy back their own shares. And late last month, Lowe's also unveiled plans for another $5 billion in stock buybacks. And more are on the way. In fact, Apple might authorize $30 billion in shares when it reports its next quarterly earnings in April. That would be on top of the $30 billion it already spends each year to buy back its shares. All these companies, they're taking massive amounts of money and going, well, we don't have anything else to do with it. Let's go buy back our shares, which increase shareholder profit. Now, Howard Silverblatt, a senior analyst with the S&P Dow Jones Indices, says, quote, I'm expecting buybacks to get to a record for 2018. And if I'm disappointed, there's a lot of people with me. Actually, there will not be a lot of people. The richest 10% of households own 84% of the stocks. The top 1% of households own about 40% of the stocks. So a lot of people is actually a very small sliver of the American population. So no, this is likely not going to help you, these stock buybacks. And increasing corporate profits also really does not help you all that much. Now, what they need to do, these companies, should start paying their fair share in taxes. They should also raise their wages to at least a living wage. And more importantly than just raising taxes is actually allocating the taxes for things that actually work. Raising taxes isn't going to do a whole lot if we continue to spend on the same shit that we already spend on. If we put all our resources, keep putting all our resources in the military, well, that doesn't help regular people. No, what we need to do is we actually need to do things like Medicare for all. What we need to do is expand Social Security. What we need to do is give spend money on making sure that colleges and universities are tuition free. We should also have a real infrastructure plan, not the Trump plan of, hey, let's give it to the corporations and put toll roads everywhere. No, that's not where we should go. We need to get away from the idea that tax cuts create jobs. They do not. They do not grow the economy either. No, they starve revenue from vital programs. And it gives Republicans and corporate Democrats an excuse to cut social welfare programs. I mean, again, they want to cut in the latest budget, Social Security, Medicare. They want to cut Medicaid by $1 trillion and turn the food stamp program into a food box program. This is what they plan on doing with the money. Again, these corporations, they're not going to help their workers. They never planned to do anything to help their workers. This is all about padding their bottom line, as usual. Do not fall for it. These tax cuts are only were only designed to help the rich at your expense. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.